Absolutely pathetic.
Order. Question number 6. Honourable David Parker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. Does he stand by his Budget 2012 statement, quotes, "We are moving towards growth that is driven by savings, exports and productive investment in the parts of the economy that trade with the rest of the world"?
Honourable Bill English.
Yes, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for asking about the rebalancing of the economy. Yes, I stand by that statement. Savings are up, exports are up, investment is up. New Zealand is one of the faster growing economies in the OECD, and that has been in the face of headwinds that have made the process of rebalancing considerably more difficult. For instance, a high exchange rate. Employment is rising, unemployment is falling, New Zealanders are saving more and paying down debt, and real wages are increasing. This is a reasonably positive backdrop for this week's budget.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David Parker.
How does double-digit house price inflation in our two largest centres and a current account deficit that is the worst in the developed world demonstrate that we are moving towards growth that is driven by savings, export and productive investment in the parts of the economy that trade with the rest of the world?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, of course, those are risks to the rebalancing of the economy, which is why the government is attacking them vigorously, and I would hope that the opposition will support the government's efforts to increase the supply of housing in Auckland instead of running poster campaigns against the Minister of Housing, who understands the problem and is working with the Auckland City Council to help resolve it.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David Parker.
Why is he claiming that economic growth is driven by savings, exports and productive investment when in the last quarter of 2012 the tradable sector of the economy shrank, when merchandise exports declined in the year to March 2013, with non-primary exports down by another 6.4%, causing misery to those who have lost their jobs as a consequence?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I can't confirm those numbers. What I can confirm is the direction the government has set and some progress in that direction despite the headwinds. What I can tell the House, though, is that pursuing policies of shutting down the mining industry, strangling the dairy industry, borrowing more money and government spending a lot more is not a recipe for rebalancing the economy.
Supplementary question, Todd McLeay.
Thank you to the Minister. What is the recent history of output in the tradable sector?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, it's interesting if you look back through what was apparently the good times in the early 2000s, the tradable sector, that is the sector exposed to the rest of the world's economy, went into recession in 2006. This was quite an achievement given the state of the world economy at the time. The tradable sector was then hit by the global financial crisis, and it didn't start growing again, having gone into recession in 2006 until 2010. Since then, it's grown about the same rate as the domestic sectors of the economy, reflecting in part the Canterbury earthquake's rebuild $40 billion contribution to the non-tradable sector. The government is playing its part in building a productive and competitive economy by backing the businesses that export, that invest, and that employ people.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Honourable David Parker.
Would lower power prices for businesses assist economic growth driven by exports and investment in the parts of the economy that trade with the rest of the world?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, it might, but I haven't seen a policy. I haven't seen any indication that the opposition's policy would achieve lower power prices. In fact, their climate change policy guarantees that power prices will go up.
Rubbish, just rubbish.
Supplementary question. Order. Supplementary question, Honourable David Parker.
Given that National's efforts to rebalance the economy have patently failed, when will he we follow the advice of the OECD, the IMF, the Reserve Bank and the Labor Party and implement pro-growth tax reform through a capital gains tax?
Honourable Bill English.
Because those other three entities that aren't the Labor Party don't agree with the Labor Party. They advocate a comprehensive capital gains tax. The Labor Party advocates a capital gains tax that exempts housing and is imposed on every productive, growing business in New Zealand. So it doesn't become a tax on capital gains, it becomes a tax on successful businesses.
Supplementary question,
Would the
Honourable
Minister
David Parker.
prefer a capital gains tax that included the family home?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, that's why this government hasn't put on a capital gains tax. But that is what those other organisations all advocate. And, Mr Speaker, a policy of spending more, financed by a capital gains tax, more spending by the government, more regulation by the government, more borrowing by the government, and shutting down productive industries, as he advocates, would not work.
Mr Speaker.
Point of order.
Very interesting, but it wasn't my question. The Minister in the earlier question had said they want the family home included, and so I asked him, would the Minister prefer a capital gains tax with the family home included? He hasn't answered that question.
And I thought the Minister said no right at the very start, and others have confirmed that that's the case. I think the question was very...
Point of order, Mr Speaker. I listened very carefully to that question, so did my colleague Annette King. That is not what I heard. If you are trying to interpolate the Minister's answer, sir, that's not appropriate.
Well, Honourable Jerry Brownlee, point of order.
Mr Speaker, it's a very interesting argument being run by David Parker, but the point here is that that is their policy, and previously ministers have been asked not to comment on it. The reality is the Minister of Finance said we do not have a policy on capital gains in this particular area. That has to be a full answer.
We are moving on. The questions have been adequately addressed. Point of order, Grant Robertson.
Just speaking to that contribution from the Leader of the House, it is my understanding of the rules of the House that if a minister brings a matter into an answer, a supplementary answer, as the minister did, it is allowable to ask supplementary questions about that material. And
no, I don't need further... Point of order, Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
That's true, but it's not appropriate to use a question to ask advice from the Minister of Finance about your policy.
Order. On the point raised by Grant Robinson, the question was certainly now out of order. Question number 7, Pasata Sam Lotuinga.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Housing.